How often do you have to get a tetanus shot? Is it like one time for life, or is it like once every 10 years? Those few videos that were in the beginning are actually the first ever cinematic that I ever made about 10 years ago, and they were all with this thing. I thought taking the NSX out and kind of splicing it in between one of those old videos was kind of cool to start this video off, just because it's like a difference in timelines, you know? There's 10 years difference between these builds, I guess. Kind of cool to see where they've all come. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Happy 2024. I hope your guys' holiday season was great. I hope you guys' New Year's was great. And I wanted to start this year off with something awesome. A lot of you guys have followed me over the past few years, but for those of you that haven't, this is my first car. Some of you might be looking at this thing like, what in the is this car? But yeah, this was my first car ever. I got it in 2000. I got rust on my hands. I got it in 2013 and I paid $1,000 for it. It is a 1993 Honda Del Sol. And me and this car have quite some history. Being a kid in high school and not having any money for anything and wanting to be a part of the car scene so bad, I made do with what I had and what I could do. Quick backstory on this car. Got it when I was 17, before I could even drive. Sat in my driveway for almost a full year, just sitting in the car and pretending to drive and getting so excited to be able to have my license so that I could drive this thing around and start doing things to it. The car was not a good example of a Del Sol right off rip, ever since I got it. The car was packed full of Bondo. It was spray painted white. There was Plasti Dip under the spray paint. The engine bay was spray painted gold. The engine was red, but I paid $1,000 for it. And it had subs in the trunk, and I could drive it to school, and I was pumped. Still being a young lad, I couldn't really modify it with a ton of money, so I continued to do things to it to make it look cool without breaking the bank, like rusting the entire car. That era of the car scene doesn't really exist anymore, unfortunately, like the 2012 to 2013, rusting your cars, Mighty Car Mod style stuff. It was a blast back then, but you don't really see it anymore today. But yeah, because the body of this car was so gone and everything was so gone, I just decided to strip all the Plasti Dip, all the spray paint off of it, rust the car, and kind of give it my own unique look. And I went with the bomber look. I did the spray painted bomber mouth front bumper, did the headlights cool to make them look like angry eyes, ended up cutting up the body, adding wide body flares on it, Diamond Racing steelies, new suspension, exhaust, completely redid the interior. And then eventually later on, probably 4 or 5 years from then, I pulled the engine out, we manual swapped the car, kind of made the engine bay look a little cleaner. But then I sold the car. At that time, I had bought my first import, which was my Toyota Soarer back in 2018. And I used the money from selling this car to get that car. And as time went on, this car ended up getting passed around, I think between 6 different owners before I bought it back, inevitably, in January of 2022. The car was up in northern Georgia in the guy's backyard, not really doing too much.
Dude, this is like nostalgic as right now. I haven't seen this car in so long.
He wanted to buy a street bike, so I gave him some money and I ended up taking this thing home. I really just bought this car back for nostalgia reasons. I'm a huge like sentimental person. I love looking back at memories and being able to like relive the things that I did with all my friends up north, and just us evolving into cars and the car scene and everything. And this car was that sentimental thing for me. So I had to have it back. But ever since I've had it back, I haven't done anything with it. And that is for quite a few reasons. But ultimately, this car just isn't really my style anymore. You know, this was something that I did 10 years ago to be able to be a part of the car scene and be a part of something really cool and be able to take my imagination and kind of run with it and create whatever I want and make it look as cool as I can. And that experience I really can't trade for anything in the world. That is something that I look back on all the time. But nowadays, in reality, you know, I'm 28, I'm almost 30. I don't see myself driving this thing around on the street anymore. It's just not my style, it's not my look. It was fun while it lasted, but between this car being so far gone and this just not being my thing anymore, I think at the end of all of this, this car will probably get retired. But this isn't a sad thing, and this is also not the reason why I made this video, to just babble on about the car and where things all started. This video is about where things are going. And with that, I got something pretty special I want to show you guys. All right, drum roll, please. Oh, God. Whew. I want to get both cars' noses pointed at each other, but damn, this is tough. Working out today. Okay, that was too much work for myself. Welcome to the first build of the 2024 season, I guess. So my first car was a 93 Honda Del Sol S. This car is a 93 Honda Del Sol S. When I first got this car, it was spray painted white, and I just got this car and it is technically white as well. There's a lot of similarities here and I love it. But let me give you guys a little backstory on this thing. So while I was up north for Christmas, I went up to Massachusetts, spent some time with family. I had put out an Instagram story saying if anyone was available to help me find and get a new Del Sol shell. Now I had gone back and forth with a few sellers, but my friend Brad was the one that stuck out to me the most, and that is because of this thing. This thing is essentially a mirror to what this car was when I got it, except it's even better, and I'll get into those reasons in a little bit. But he was down to sell me this Del Sol shell for 700 bucks. The only problem is that he was up in Pennsylvania, and so I put out an Instagram story if anyone was available to help me go and get this car. And my friend Xavier hit me up, who actually watches the channel and supports a few of the builds. He hit me up and he was like, dude, I wanna help out. I wanna help you get this car. I know how much your first car means to you. I know how much this build series is gonna mean to you. And so during Christmas break, he actually loaded up his truck and trailer, drove all the way up from Florida to Pennsylvania to pick this thing up. And he actually sent me a few clips that he filmed along the way, going through the whole process of driving up there, picking this car up, which I'm gonna show you guys now.
All right, guys, we are currently in South Carolina. We got about 7 or 8 hours to go until we reach our destination to get the car. Weather's been pretty rough, actually. A lot of rain coming in, but can't complain. So we have arrived currently in Pennsylvania. We have made it to the vehicle somehow, some way. I don't know, I feel like I saw pictures of it, but I was not expecting it to not be rotted away, but it is not rotted away, which is crazy. It's actually really nice. Not bad. This thing is actually pretty good. So, introduce yourself, sir.
My name's Brad Hermans. I've known Mike on Facebook and stuff like that for a while. When he put out a post looking for it, I'm like, dude, I got one. I'll sell it to you for a good price. The reason why we got this car is my girlfriend was trying to do a build. We had originally picked her up a 93 SI, but the rust was so bad that the floor was being held together by the undercoat. Not even joking. So I found this, a buddy of mine, he's just like, hey, I got a car for sale for 1,400 bucks. So I'm like,
hell yeah.
sold.
And here we are, now Mike has acquired it somehow, so that's crazy how that works from so far away. Like, what was you said in a forum? Like, you've been talking to Mike for a while, right?
I've known Mike from the Del Sol group for about 7 years. It was back when the Ruined Soul was white.
So this was like OG days, like pre 2016,
like before
2015.
he was actually like a YouTuber.
Yeah, but also I want to show you guys like
the green car over here is actually an original Samba Green Del Sol. It's my second one. They were very rare cars. I think it was only like 2,500 made for the U.S. in this color. And this is a 87 Shelby Daytona Cars and Concepts edition. It has the T-tops and everything, so it was sent out to have the T-tops done from new. This was I had a fully built Type R swap in this thing. It was my baby for like 5 years, but I decided to start letting her go. I wanted to play with other stuff, and I got tired of the Honda kids.
Yeah, whatever. Big shout out to Brad, you know, for getting Mike this car, and I was able to come out here and get it. So, appreciate you, man.
Not a problem, dude.
Hell yeah.
Anytime.
All right, guys, we were about 6 hours away. We're gonna stop at a pretty good spot that usually is like a no-brainer to stop at to get some pictures. I'll show you guys a little bit of the car under the sign. If you know, you know. Look at, guys, she made it south of the border, which is absolutely awesome.
Now, funny enough, I've known Brad for a few years now. Back in the day when I was on a bunch of Del Sol Facebook pages, when I was building this thing, he was also a part of pretty much every single one of them, and he still is. Brad is just one of those genuine people that you know always has good intentions, is always down to help you out, and he helped me out big time with this thing. Yesterday I took a break and I came over here and literally just sat in it for a half an hour, just looking at everything, just kind of feeling the way I did back when I was a kid, driving this one, but except this one doesn't smell. All right, we're switching to handheld now. Now, I done a poll on Instagram about a month ago asking you guys what I should do in terms of rebuilding this car. And the majority of you guys actually wanted to see me restore my original Del Sol. And while that sounded like a great idea, I ended up looking into my car because it's been sitting over here for a while, and I just kind of deemed it not practical to try and rebuild this shell, and I'll show you why. Now, this car has been passed through so many owners since I had sold it and then bought it back. It's got quite a few battle scars to show that. The first and most prominent one being the hood. The hood is just one giant wave, and what happened was the hood latch had rusted off the actual like factory mounting point, and the hood ended up flying upwards onto the roof, destroying the hood. Funny enough, not touching the windshield at all, but it also ended up denting the crap out of the top of the roof. And not only that, the target top had also flown off on one of the previous owners and took a beating on both sides. The front bumper that I made 10 years ago or so is completely destroyed. All the Bondo work and patchwork ended up separating because it got hit in the front. You can see the remnants of the hit on this side. The whole bumper's stained with rust. I really wish that I could hang on to it, but it's kind of just really meant for the trash can. I mentioned this car got hit. It actually got hit twice in between me selling the car and buying it back. And you can kind of see the remnants of the tire marks here, which I think caused this and destroyed the Bondo work there, which just made the rust for the rest of the years that much worse. And then it was also hit on the passenger side, which kind of made the whole front end misaligned. All the panels don't really line up that well. Fenders all tweaked and destroyed. But even with the accident damage, like, I could have still restored the car if it wasn't so rusty. And I'm not talking about the rust job that I did to the car personally. I'm talking about the bones of this car. This car is so far gone to the point where I think if I hit a bump hard enough on normal roads, this thing would just split in half. Not to even mention the years of me scraping the to the bottom of this thing. But oh god, here's an example. This rocker completely gone. Side skirts aren't even really held in by anything anymore. You could just grab it and pull it off. This whole section down here is all Bondo and patchwork, but all of this is completely compromised. This entire quarter panel would need to get replaced. This entire rocker down here would need to get replaced. Both doors are absolutely screwed. The bottoms of them are completely rusted away. This one is the worst. We ended up putting a patch panel in there years ago, which has also separated, so the door is completely gone. Under the fender flares is all Bondo. Car got hit back here as well, which kind of screwed up the quarter panel, the alignment of the bumper, the taillights destroyed. Same thing with the rocker on this side. This side's not even connected anymore. You can just push it in completely with your hand. And then same deal in here with the rocker. Completely gone. Side skirt's only half attached at this point. You can see the rust just collecting on here from the bottoms of the doors. The doors are completely gone. But now I'm going to show you guys why this new shell is so worth it. Del Sols aren't cheap anymore, and to find one that is pretty rust free usually comes with a tax, even with it being a shell. Most of the shells that I saw that were rust free were at least a couple grand, and complete cars that were really, really nice that were also rust free were selling upwards of 10 grand. Remember, I paid $1,000 for that thing back in the day. But Brad was such a homie and hooked it up with this thing. It's the same year, make, model, trim, everything to my car, except my car was an automatic chassis when I bought it. This car is a manual chassis. And on top of that, this thing is absolutely rust free. No Bondo. No Bondo. No Bondo, no Bondo anywhere, no Bondo with the gas cap. And check this. Absolutely minty rocker panels. Got a tiny little bit of surface rust right here, but I can neutralize that and fix that. The undersides of the doors are all perfect. And check it out. Interior, pretty damn complete. Got both door panels, carpet, seats, which I probably won't be using these seats. They're not for this car. Dashboard is mint. Steering wheel's really nice. Everything still works and functions as it should, or so I'm told. And under the hood is actually really, really nice. No rust anywhere except for a little bit of surface rust in a couple spots. No collision damage, no rot anywhere. This is so awesome. So what does this mean? I have been wanting to do something with my original Del Sol on the channel for a long time. Ultimately never did because this car is just too far gone to want to build and kind of redo. So I took it upon myself to go one step further from restoring this car and building the engine and doing all that crazy stuff to finding a good enough donor shell that's completely rust free so that I can come over to my car and take all of the nostalgic bits out of the interior, steering wheel, dashboard, my original seats, which definitely need to be cleaned up. There's a couple things that car is missing that this car has, like that door handle is brand new. The driver's side one on that car is actually broken, so I'll be taking this one and putting it in that car, along with everything else that I possibly can. Now I wanna get your guys' input on this whole project idea that I have right here. But essentially I wanna take these two cars and make one good car and let the legacy of the Ruined Soul live on in this car. Which means taking the D16 that's in here out, refreshing it, making it look beautiful, cleaning up the engine bay of this car, getting it resprayed, dropping the D16 in here, make it look as nice as I possibly can, and essentially build the Del Sol that I wish that I could have built when I was 17 when I first got this one. Being young with no money and still in school, I did what I could and what I wanted to make this thing cool for the time. But in reality, at the same time, I wish that I had started off with a super clean Del Sol. One of my best friends up north, Steven Petrie, you guys have seen him on my channel before.
That was right at your wheel.
Fuck you, Mike.
He actually helped me do a bunch of this stuff years and years and years ago on the channel. But his first car was a black Del Sol, manual, super, super nice car. That was like the first modified car that I ever drove in, and that's what made me fall in love with Del Sols back in the day. So I would love to be able to create the Del Sol that I've always wanted. To my standards now, completely resurrect this thing, make it look absolutely beautiful, and have the ultimate throwback daily driver, I guess you would say. I daily drive the Century and that thing gets 15 miles to the gallon. So if I can have my old Del Sol back that gets 40 mpgs, I'll be very, very happy. I want to apologize for the amount of talking that's in this video. Look at this. All the stuff in here still works beautifully. Some of my buttons in my car were broken. Everything works. This is a throwback for me. This little nostalgic drop down cup holder here. Remember when I was in high school, I would stop at Dunkin' right across the street, get a nice coffee, slap it in there. The Targa top in here is like perfect. The Targa top that's in mine is completely destroyed and missing about 80% of all of the pieces. I already test fitted this. It goes into the trunk perfectly. No rust in the trunk at all. Just a little bit dirty, but have my my Targa top hatch. Still works. And on top of all of this, this car's clean title. Clean title, ready to go. I could basically pull this thing into the shop, start tearing into it, getting it ready, taking all of my sentimental, nostalgic bits out of this guy. And because this car is factory manual and this one's auto, I'm not gonna have to cut up my console for the manual swap. I can just literally take this entire drivetrain, refresh it, make it look beautiful, put it in this car. It should bolt right up, no problem. And I know that this engine does run and drive, so it should be perfect. If anything, I'm gonna get a new engine harness for this one because between all the previous owners, it got hacked into so many times, spliced, and shit is not plugged in and just dangling everywhere, and it shows its age. So I'll probably get a new engine harness. But yeah, this is the first build of 2024. And we're throwing it back to the OG days. So I'm about ready to get this thing into the shop, honestly. Like I want to tear into this thing immediately. I'm just too excited. The nostalgia is getting to me. Before I do that though, I have to take the Supra from in here and bring it over to the lift building. Because just like the Supra did, the Del Sol is going to be staying here for quite some time while we tear into it and get it looking perfect. So I'm gonna bring the Supra over, then we can get the Del Sol inside. It's kind of funny to me to see the similarities of cars that I like over the course of me building stuff. You don't grow up, the toys just get more expensive. Just by seeing this thing inside here, comparing it to the size of the Supra, I am so fucking excited to start working on it, because look at how much space I have. The Supra came out to like here, the Century came all the way out to like here. This thing, I got so much space, so many room for activities, so much room for activities. This is gonna be fucking amazing. I hope that you guys are excited for this series to start. Like I said, I want to hop on this immediately. I want to start sourcing parts. I want to source things that I need. And because my first Del Sol, the Ruined Soul, was kind of a community car and had a lot of secondhand parts and just friends helping out with stuff, I want to open the invitation. And if any of you guys have any cool little bits that you're not really doing anything with that go to a Del Sol and you want to send them my way, let me know. DM me on Instagram. I'm sure that I could find some good use for some of the parts for this car. Leave it down in the comments what you guys think of this car, this entire build series. I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say. And I'm also torn because I'm not entirely sure what color I want to paint the car. The rest of my cars, besides my Supra, are all black, and I would love to paint this car black. However, the only thing that's kind of making me not want to do that is because the car was originally white. All the door jambs are already white. The engine bay is already white, even though it needs to be a little refreshed. If I go with black, everything has to get taken out, everything has to get sprayed. If I go with white, I can kind of cheat the system a little bit and only paint the outside of the car. But let me know what you guys think. I'm hoping to have the entire winter months just jam-packed with content with this car and tearing both cars apart, making one awesome Del Sol out of the two of them. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.